Alright, so in my last video I think I said that I would be now taking another example, and that example is of a air conditioning system where we are trying to control the temperature of a room. So the system is quite simple. Now what is the system? The system is the whole room, right? Let's say this is a room. Is a room, and of course there is an air conditioner installed in it. And the temperature of the room is quite high, or the ambient temperature is quite high, and we want to maintain the temperature at some reference value. Let's say the reference value is 20 degrees centigrade, right? So we try to see the various components of control system with this example, right? So you must be remembering the block diagram. In any case, I will be drawing it again. But again, first let us identify the system. I have already told you the system. Here is the room whose temperature we wish to control. You can call it plant, you can call it process also. Then you have to have a sensor. Right? So the air conditioning unit is equipped with a thermocouple which senses the temperature of the room. Right? Then you need an actuator, as we have seen. The actuator here is you can call it a compressor, which compresses the refrigerant. I think you have already done a course on RAC. Or you can call the actuator to be the system which is supplying current to the system. Now actuator here, we can actually discuss a lot more on actuator, because now we have different kinds of ACs. You must have heard of inverter ACs. So in that you have variable speed compressors. So actuator can be the electronic component inside it which supplies the required amount of current to the motor depending upon the speed required of the compressor. But for simplicity, let us say that actuator here is the compressor of the AC, and what is left? The controller. There is some microcontroller inside the system, which is the brain of the system. So in this context, if I draw the block diagram again, I think you will be able to identify the various things now and relate to it much more. So this is my block, which depicts the plant, and you can very well identify this to be the room. And what is the output of the plant? That is the room temperature, right? The temperature inside the room, which is sensed by the thermocouple in the air conditioning system, right? So I have a sensor which you have already identified as the thermocouple. Then what was the other part? There was comparison. But what would you compare it with? So you need to have a reference. What was the reference? We said that we want the temperature inside the room to be equal to 20 degrees centigrade. So now that becomes my reference signal, right? The reference signal, you must remember, is the required level of the control variable. So here the reference signal is 20 degrees centigrade. Right? So you will compare these two things. And let's say if the temperature of the room inside is much higher than 20 degrees centigrade, or if it is slightly higher than then you get some error signal. This is what we said. This is the error signal. The point that I am trying to make is that even if it was a single degree of freedom system, vibration system, or it's a temperature control problem, the basic components of the control system more or less are same, right? So now you have a controller, the brain of the system, which based on the error signal will decide what has to be done. Here the decision is quite simple. What is the decision? Whether I want to switch on or off the actuator compressor. Right? So if the error is non-zero, or if it is positive, then what would controller do? Controller will give signal to the air conditioning compressor. I'm sorry, I'm short of space here, but I have already drawn this diagram, right? So this is your actuator, the compressor, and if it's a non-inverter AC, a constant speed AC, compressor AC, then what would be the simple control command here? You just switch on the compressor. And I think those who have ACs at their home, they must have seen the compressor frequently switches on and off depending upon the temperature, right? So it will switch on the actuator and the cooling inside the room will start. And when this thing goes on, slowly and slowly the temperature will reach 20 degrees. And then the actuator will stop. But once again, when the system's temperature increases, again the controller will give signal to the actuator to switch it on. So I can actually draw it, the temperature profile of the room. It would be something like this. Let's say this is my reference. Right? This is my reference temperature, and this is the temperature inside the room initially. Right? And at this point, the AC is on. So the compressor would also be on because the temperature is much higher than the reference. So slowly and slowly the temperature would come down, down, down. And at some point, the temperature will be equal to reference signal. So at this point, what would happen? The controller will switch off the compressor. Right? And slowly, the temperature will now increase. Now your thermocouple has some sensitivity, right? It will not instantly tell you that the temperature has increased. Depending upon its sensitivity, it will again come down, right? Here again I think it has to have some sensitivity. So it might even go down here and then come up. Similarly, it might, depending upon the sensitivity of thermocouple, it will sense it late, so it might go below 20 and then come up. So this will be the final temperature profile of it. The only thing that I want to show here is that how the controller will give command to the actuator. Right? So basic components of the control system. Since this is a new course to you guys, and I'll be taking much more examples just to have a good introduction to the basic components of the control system. A good food for thought for you guys at this point would be that the first example that I gave you for control system was a fan, right? I said a good example is fan, which is running above you right now even. Can you tell me the various components in a fan? We will discuss that in the next lecture, because you will see that you will not have most of the components, and that is a different kind of control system which I will come to next video.